Joseph had in mind to divorce Mary quietly. He was a man of integrity, a man who was faithful to the law, and didn't want to expose Mary to public disgrace. So he decided just to break off the engagement without making a big deal about it. But this was something very different. God had a great plan, and Joseph was going to be used for it. Joseph was then to receive a message of good news, a message of the challenge that was ahead for him, but that God would be with him and that he didn't need to be fearful. In a moment we'll hear our reading, which is about how the angel visited Joseph in a dream, telling him not to be fearful, but also about what Jesus would do, what Jesus would come into the world to accomplish. If we think back to the prophecies about the birth of Jesus, it was all now coming together. How this would take place, and what Jesus would come into the world to do, the difference that he would make.
But after he had considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said,
Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife.
What is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit.
She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus.
Because he will save his people from their sins.
This word sin, which you might think is a bit outdated, is describing those things we've done wrong, those mistakes that all of us have made in our lives. That Jesus would come into this world to save people from their sins. It was God's great rescue plan that had been foretold hundreds of years before, and now would be fulfilled in Jesus. This man would save God's people from their sins. And Joseph is given this message that it's okay, he doesn't need to be fearful. He can trust in God. Do we have times in our lives where we need to hear that message ourselves? Not to be fearful, but to trust in God. To trust in God to do what he will. For his will to be perfect. And to know that he has a perfect will for us. Jesus would come into this world to save God's people from their sins. And Joseph received that message that he'd been chosen for this task.